Well, dear students, it's time to talk about brokerage accounts, different account types and thwack annuities. And with warm regards to Rodney Dangerfield, we tell this joke. I tell you, this stock market is bad. It's even worse than a divorce. You lose 50% of your net worth, but you still keep your spouse. I don't think it's actually a Rodney Dangerfield joke, but it's certainly in the style of his jokes. And have you ever wondered why they call us brokers? Slide number 2. What are the different types of brokerage firms? Well, first there were the full-service brokerage firms, and you paid dearly for their services, and some of them are still around, like Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. I'm sorry, Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. I think now it's called Merrill Edge, I think. I don't follow them too much. Then there were the discount brokers starting in the 1970s that have coalesced around just a few companies. The largest, most notable is Schwab. But there are a few others like LPL and A.G. Edwards and Edward Jones. And then there are the deep discount brokers, the internet brokers that emphasize technology to reduce brokerage costs dramatically. What can you expect to pay for each? What kind of service can you expect from each? Well, the full-service brokers are going to treat you really well, take you to the golf course, steakhouse, send you a bottle of wine on your birthday, and really hit you with huge fees. Some of the discount brokers might do the same. They might hit you with those assets under management fees, which make them very wealthy and keep some of the money off the table for you. Remember, I'm a stockbroker. I can say true things about brokers. And then the deep discount brokers really don't even want to talk to you. They want everything to be done on the internet by you or yourself, although they will offer some services for a fee, my understanding. Yes, indeed. So what were commissions? Well, full-service brokers used to be, and still are, I assume, but now, again, everything's assets under management now. Commissions are a bad word. But it would upwards of $100 or more per trade. The discount brokers in the 70s started at $45 and then down to $29 and $19 and $13 and $9 trade. And the deep discount brokers started at $5 to $10, but now a few companies in the last several years ago, experimented with $0 commissions, and they failed. One failed. The other one, I think, now charges $5 a trade, but maybe they've joined the crew, because Robinhood was very successful in getting the younger folks, because it's kind of like a video game, involved in trading. And if you still think you're trading for free, just stick with us. The mutual fund companies now offer brokerage services. Now, it's not the same company, but it has the same name. I forget what it's called. Fidelity Brokerage Services, Vanguard Brokerage, whatever. And they allow you to buy their ETFs with no commissions. Very cool. So very good marketing. That was Fidelity, and Vanguard has followed suit, and I'm sure there's others. How can a brokerage firm make money on $5 a trade or $0 a trade? Remember, every time, first of all, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are taking their cut, and you got to keep the lights on and the internet service. You got to pay the people. What's going on here? Do you remember this slide from Chapter 3? Scott Trade, which is now owned by TD Ameritrade, which was now bought by Schwab. Scott Trade Incorporated receives remuneration for directing orders to particular broker-dealers or market centers for execution. Such remuneration is considered compensation to the firm, and the source and amount of any compensation received by the firm in connection with your transaction will be disclosed upon request. They're getting a kickback. You're paying more when you buy and you're getting less when you sell. Now, as we've discussed in detail, the amounts that these, Virtu and what's the other one? Ken Griffin, Citadel are taking are minuscule. Trading costs have gone down immensely, but they're charging you, folks. And don't think you're trading for free. The more you trade, the more they make, and that's why they want to turn it into a video game so you do it every day. Ugh. What are alternative methods of paying your broker? As the competition for your business has gotten fiercer, the methods of charging investors for investment services have gotten more creative. Many years ago, Merrill Lynch experimented with just charging $3,000 per year with unlimited training. They don't have that program anymore. There are many other methods. The most notable, as we've discussed, is the assets under management fee. But the new modern day go-go way to customers, charge for brokerage services is called assets under management. Assets under management is what many brokerage firms want to charge you now, and many of them they only want to talk. It used to be they wanted you to have 50,000, then it was 100, now it's 500,000 or more. Do you remember the F shares, the I shares, the FI shares in Chapter 2? Yeah, instead of charging you commissions, they're going to charge you 1 to up to 2% wealth management fee. Oh, we're not your brokers, no, we're your wealth managers. And these types of programs are now being pushed by all the major full-service brokerage firms. And I told you my feelings on them. You, as an investor, are going to wind up spending a whole lot more, assuming you're not a buy and sell kind of person. If you are, then yeah, then of course this is going to help you not pay those commissions every darn time you buy and sell. But if you're a buy and hold, oh my goodness, you're just going to get raped. The latest wrinkle, which is now about 15 years old, in the new performance-based wealth management program is performance-based wealth management. Only pay your advisor when you make money. The advisor receives 10 to 20% of your earnings when you make money, but they receive nothing when you lose or do not make any money. In other words, every quarter they would do it, your investment portfolio goes up, they're going to take about 1 or 2%, sometimes 10 to 20%. Yeah. Now, only on the earnings, folks, not on the whole thing, but still, it's just a variation of the way hedge funds charge their shareholders, which is even worse. It's currently marketed to high net worth investors. And the first time I saw this was Dunham and Associates, and it was right before the Great Recession, right before the global financial crisis. And I'm sitting there, I got my suit on, I'm with the pass in as a broker, a real broker. I don't know. Whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, next bear market, these people are going to be sucking air because they're not going to be getting any money. Yeah, they've now altered the fee structure so that they charge much less when your account does not gain instead of charging nothing, but they got to live, right? Although it may sound tempting, only pay my broker when I make money. The reality is that you have the potential to pay far more for your investment services using this method. So I'm not a big fan of this method. Okay? I think pay the commission, be done with it, and don't trade, right? Invest, don't trade, says Mike Gitlin of Capital Group American Funds. He's the CEO. He says it in 3 words. Invest, don't trade. Brilliant man. Okay, what about anti-brokerage firms? You can go with dividend reinvestment plans. You remember these from Chapter 3? Some are totally free or very close to free. The one we had through Sempra Energy, San Diego Gas and Electric, would charge us every once in a while 6 cents or 3 cents. And of course they don't. San Diego Gas and Electric isn't taking care of this program. They contract with a company to do it for them. And now most brokerage firms allow you to say, okay, I want these dividends, instead of sending them as cash into my account, reinvest the dividends. Okay? They are not perfect. How would you like to have to sift through 18 different statements? But there were companies, I'm not sure if they're still in business, but they would charge a monthly fee to allow you to keep all your drips in one place. And I think they have gone out of favor because most brokerage firms now say, oh, you want to reinvest the dividends? Fine, we'll do that for you, usually free of charge. Cool? I'm a big fan of dividends, you know that? And I really love drips. Yeah, it's a great name too, right? Because it lets you fully earn the full total return, fully amortized total return of that stock by investing in dividends. It's like a mutual fund, basically like a mutual fund. That's how mutual funds work. Okay, so now let us turn our attention to the different types of accounts. This is a graphic that is trying to show you that there are basically 2 different types of accounts. Taxable accounts and what the IRS calls tax qualified accounts. And sometimes you hear people call it a regular account. And there are various types of tax qualified accounts. The most notably are retirement accounts, but then there are educational savings accounts and there are health savings accounts, which actually have gotten more popular now because there's some really cool things that they can do. When you get a taxable account, you have no limit on what you can put in the. It's supposed to look like a bin, like a bolsa, like a bucket. My apologies, I'm not a very good graphic artist. And you can put anything in there: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but real estate, cash, options, futures, shorting, margining. Oh yeah, stay away. There's no limit on contributions, no limit on investment types, and you pay taxes every year. You're going to get a 1099, various types to pay the taxes on the earnings, dividends, rent, interest payments, capital gains that you received that year. Now, when you have a tax qualified account, it works very differently. There are strict limits on contributions and limits on investment types. So even though there's a few others that you can stick in here, let's just stay with the biggies: stocks, bonds, cash, treasury bills and the like, and mutual funds. The cool thing about these is your contributions are either tax deferred, that's called pre-tax, and you don't pay taxes on the income that you put into these things that year, you get a tax break now, or they are tax-free once you retire. That's very cool. That's often called the Roth option. So we don't want to get into too much detail on these. We spend more time in the BUS123 Principles of Money Management class. But if you do have any questions, you know who to contact, right? I can talk about this far longer than any reasonable person would ever want to listen. But let's go through the major examples quickly. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you very much. The pre-tax versus the post-tax. The pre-tax, sometimes called before tax contributions, are 401ks, 403bs, 457s, 401as, what others? There's a few others. And the names come from the Internal Revenue Code, where it tells you if the company does this and you do that, yay. You can put your money away, get a tax break now, and pay taxes when you retire. The traditional IRA works for everybody. If you have earned income, doesn't matter, you can have a traditional IRA. And then there are a few of these wrinkles: the SEP IRA, the Simple IRA, the KEO, for either small businesses or self-employed. They all work basically the same way. You get a tax break now. Your deductions your contributions allow you to deduct income from your income tax, and you get a tax break now. The money grows tax deferred, and then you pay taxes in retirement, which makes sense usually because most people are in a lower tax bracket when they retire. And if you're not, congratulations. If you're pulling so much money out of your retirement, you're right, exactly. The other one, which is newer, starting in the late 90s, is the post-tax contribution, after-tax contribution accounts. And the most popular is the Roth IRA. For almost everyone, there's a wrinkle. Hang on a minute later. There's a limit on how much you can make and then still contribute, but you can get around that with what's called the Roth backdoor. Then there are 401ks and 403bs. Well, you put them in quotation marks because the IRS doesn't call them that. They just call them 401ks, 403bs with after-tax contributions, post-tax contributions. You don't get a tax break now, but in retirement, oh yeah, tax-free in retirement is a golden opportunity. I'm a big fan of the Roth IRA. So the individual retirement arrangement, is that really what it stands for? Yeah, everyone calls it an individual retirement account, but the real name is individual retirement arrangement. It's the most popular personal retirement plan. It's been around for decades. And now it's referred to as the traditional IRA to make sure you don't get it confused with the Roth IRA. Anyone who has earned income can contribute to a traditional IRA. There's a little bit of confusion because some people think, oh, you can't do it. You make too much money. No, that's not the case. Doesn't matter how much money you make, you can put money into the IRA, traditional IRA. Now, where's the wrinkle? Contributions are normally tax deductible unless you have a retirement account at your place of employment and make over a certain amount of money. it doesn't matter whether you contribute to the retirement plan. If they have a retirement plan, and you make over a certain amount of money, you cannot deduct your contributions. You can still make your contributions, but they're not deductible. That means you have to keep track of how much you put in after taxes so you don't get taxed twice on the way out. The investment, as we said, grows tax deferred. And once you reach 59 and a half, you can take the whole thing out. There's a couple of ways you can actually take some money out beforehand, but let's not go there. Mandatory withdrawals begin now at age 73, and that's probably going to be going up over time. It used to be 70 and a half. I don't know why they got these and a half things, but that's what they got. And then the IRA has many cousins, the 401k, 403b, 457, 401a for public organizations such as school districts and college districts. The SEP IRA, the Simple IRA, the Solo 401k, the SAR SEP, which I think is gone now. You can be grandfathered in, but it's gone. The KEO, which I love that name, KEO. And then the Roth IRA, which is my favorite. They all work very much like the traditional IRA, except for the Roth option, right? If you put money in after tax, post-tax contributions, then you get to take it out later on in retirement tax-free. And the earnings. Oh, that's such a cool thing. So let's see an example. You contribute via your paycheck $100 to a 401k. Now, we're not even discussing whether or not your company matches that, puts $50 in or $100 in on your behalf. That's really cool. Think about it, folks. Who's going to give you a 50% return or 100% return on your money in one day? Only your boss. Why? Because they want you to go away when you retire. They don't want to deal with the traditional pension plan called the defined benefit plan. These are called defined contribution plans. And it makes sense because more and more today, we don't work for the same company for 30, 40 years. We bounce around. And so it makes sense to take your retirement plan with you. Now, having said that, right, you want to make sure that you contribute prudently, with an eye toward long-term growth and income, and you should do very well, unless the world ends. Anyway, so you put in $100, and if it's before tax, then depends on your tax bracket, which we're not going to get into that stuff here, and they take 121 principles of money management. But let's say you're in the 25% tax bracket, and you're in the 8% California bracket. Your government subsidy is $33. Well, not really. They just take 25 fewer dollars out for withholding for the feds and $8 fewer dollars for the state of California. And so you wind up seeing your take-home pay only reduced by $67. Cool. The whole $100 and maybe $150 or $200 goes into the account. Okay, Payano, what's the catch? Well, you pay income tax on any amounts withdrawn in retirement, but people in retirement are usually in a lower tax bracket, and if not, congratulations. I hope all my students, all my clients, and myself have that horrible affliction in our golden years of taking too much money out of our retirement account. Plus, right, you give this money a little kiss, send it on its way, let it do its thing for 30, 40 years, and then come back in retirement. Now, what if you take the money out before retirement? Well, there are some cases where you can do it, but you're going to have to pay the income tax. I mean, that makes sense. You didn't pay on the way in, but you may have to pay a 10% penalty. Now, the IRS doesn't like that word. They call it an additional tax. We call it a penalty. But there are some exceptions. First-time home purchase, higher education, medical disability, financial hardship, which used to be very hard to get the IRS to accept, but since COVID, they've been a little bit more lenient. So that's the pre-tax, before-tax contributions. What about the after-tax? Roth IRA, the Roth 401k, the Roth 403b. Again, put it in quotes. You contribute to a Roth IRA $100. Now, what does the feds do? What do? No, they don't give you nothing. The California, no, they don't give you nothing. In other words, you see your disposable income reduced by $100. Oh, well, why contribute to a Roth IRA? Here's the answer. Because a Roth IRA is so cool. Tax-free in retirement is a golden opportunity. No other investment account option comes close, in my humble opinion. You could come up with some weird scenarios where it might have made more sense, but still, I think they're going to get rid of them eventually. You can, if you're grandfathered in, great, but other people, no, 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 because there's going to be so much money that the feds can't get their paws on. Some people say don't trust them, they'll change the rules. Oh, we'll see. Old people vote and they have canes. And here's a cool part about the Roth IRA, not the Roth 401k or Roth 403b, but the Roth IRA. You can withdraw the contributions at any time without penalty. Why? Because you already paid taxes on the contributions, right? So this makes the Roth IRA also an excellent intermediate term investment account. Purchase of a house or other high ticket item, great for college expenses because they are currently not used in financial aid calculations. Now, my understanding is that private universities will use what's in a Roth IRA because they figure, okay, you can take the contributions out. But as the form is now, the FAFSA form, FAFSA form, they don't ask how much is in your Roth IRA. Yeah. So when people say, should I go open up an educational account for my son or daughter? I say, have you invested in a Roth IRA yet? And they go, no. I said, that's, I think, the trick you should do. Yeah, I think so. Unless you got a whole lot of money and you don't know what to do with all of it, then yeah, educational savings accounts are cool. By the way, if you use the educational savings account, they take away the ability to take those tax credits, and for every dollar that's in those educational savings accounts, they reduce any financial aid that you may get by $1. So yeah, I don't understand why they do that. It's kind of nasty, but that's what they do. But as we said, a Roth IRA is not for everyone. Well, yes, it is. Maybe you just have to learn how to navigate the paperwork and watch out for any gotchas. See, when they developed the Roth IRA, they only wanted it for the middle class. So they have limits on the contributions depending how much money you make. In 2024, only single taxpayers with an AGI of $146,000 or less and married couples with an AGI of $230,000 or less can fully contribute to a Roth IRA. And if you don't qualify, congratulations. I don't feel too badly for you. But, here's the tricky part. You can still contribute to the Roth IRA. And if you find you have made over the limit, or you knew you were going to go over the limit, you can recharacterize the contributions into a traditional IRA, which doesn't have the same limitations, before you file your taxes, and then you convert the traditional IRA back into the Roth IRA. You do it on the same day. You fill out the paperwork. I've helped clients do it. I know who voted for these bozos. So yeah, we did, yeah. So read about now you got to be careful. It's a good idea to consult a tax professional because there's a couple of gotchas. If you have a traditional IRA, right, the IRS says you can't, yeah, it's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. You have to be careful. Slide number 18. Here's the contribution limit for 2024, and my understanding is it's not going up, or maybe the catch-up allowance of $1,000 is going up. I don't know. The 403b, the 401ks, they're going up. So for the traditional and Roth IRA, the contributions are limited to the lesser of your gross salary or the maximum yearly contribution. In other words, if you made $7,000, you can contribute that much. And you have until April 15th of 2025 to put the maximum. Now, you can't do two and say, oh, it's a 7,000 this one, 7,000 this one. No, it's for as many accounts, whether they're traditional IRA or Roth IRA, the combined total has to be less than 7,000. If you're 50 and over, you can throw another $1,000 in. Now, what happens is you're going to get another form in May, and people go, oh, I already did my taxes. What do I do? No, that form is going to the IRS to tell the IRS how much money you contributed so that they can aggregate the amounts that you contributed and make sure you're not cheating and putting too much money in 7 different Roth IRAs or whatever. If your spouse does not work and you make at least $14,000, you could put an additional $7,000 for your spouse. And the contributions limits rise with inflation, as we're going to see with the 401k and the 403b in just the next slide here. Here are the 401k, 403b contributions for the last 5 years. They're going to go up in 2025. Yes, they are. And so it's going to be even more lucrative. For employer-sponsored plans, the contributions are limited to the lesser of your gross salary or your maximum yearly contribution. In other words, if you make $23,000 in 2024, you could put your whole income into a 401k. As noted above, the amounts are indexed to inflation, and there's a loophole in the law that allows those in the public sector to contribute the maximum into both a 403b and a 457. And of course, if you're 50 or over, you have the catch-up allowance. Think about that, folks. Say you're a two-income family and you both make a pretty good salary. You could take one of the person's salary in the public sector and put double in there and then live off the other person's salary. And you do that for 5 years when you're in your 20s or early 30s, and you'll never have to put another dime away in retirement. I think you should, but you never would have to. Yeah, and now the new law starting in 2025 is going to let people ages 60, 61, and 62, and 63, I think, to put in even more of a catch-up allowance for the elderly. So they're very lucrative, folks. And if you invest prudently with a long-term perspective, increasing of growth and income, and the world doesn't end, you should do well. Okay, now, we talked about the Roth 401k, Roth 403b. There really should be quotes around there because that's not what the IRS calls it. If your employer offers the option, they don't have to, you can place after-tax dollars into your Roth 401k. It's similar to a Roth IRA, but not exactly the same. Employer matches will continue to be pre-tax. So you have to keep track of both the employer amount and your amount so that you don't get taxed twice on the way out. And contributions are not able to be withdrawn without penalty or taxes until retirement, unlike the Roth IRA where you can take the contributions out. This is a great option for those who don't need the tax break now. However, unless your employer offers the matching contributions, I prefer the Roth because you can take the contributions out. But if your employer matches, it's a no-brainer, right? That's free money. Yeah, take it. Cool. Slide 21. Now, there are tax credits for low-income earners, and these amounts aren't really that low. I mean, $76,000 for a married couple filing jointly. That's not that bad, folks. But you could get up to 50% of your contributions. You put $50 a month into a Roth IRA, you might wind up getting that's $600 a year. You might get $300 credit on your taxes. So if you do your own taxes, don't forget this. If you have someone do them for you, make sure to tell them you put money away in a retirement account, and the tax software programs such as TurboTax, TaxSlayer, TaxAct, all the other ones, they handle it very well. You say, oh yeah, I put money in a Roth IRA, I put money in a 401k, and they'll check out whether or not you are eligible for the tax credit for low-income earners. By the way, if you don't take advantage of it, you don't put it on your tax return, they're not going to call you up and say, hey, Fred, we see that you didn't take the tax credit. We'll send it to you anyway. No. You got to take it. Okay. Time to put on my dominatrix costume and beat up annuities. Just thwack them, beat them up. Because, oh my goodness, they're just, they have the siren call. They're a life insurance product designed to provide a guaranteed income. That's the siren call. You can't outlive your money. The annuity options include income for a set number of years, sometimes 10, 20, 30 years, or the most popular one for as long as you live, or as long as you and your spouse or other dependent lives if he or she outlives you. So doesn't that sound great? You can't outlive your money. A guarantee. What do we know about guarantees? Right. The amount you get is based on your age, which of the above options you pick, and how much you have contributed, and how well your annuity investments, if any, have performed over well. Now, there are two types. There are fixed annuities that typically invest in bonds, and there are variable annuities that allow you to choose mutual funds typically as the investment choice. Now, guess what? Right, the insurance company is taking a very large portion of that. So they're going to take 2 to 3 to 4% of your annual earnings. Now, that you don't know that, but they've set it up that way. And when you do the fixed income quote, the variable annuity, you don't know well you're going to do, because that's variable. It depends on how well your choices do. But they're still taking 2, 3, 4%, folks. Guess what? So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of tax-deferred annuities? Well, one of the big advantages is that there's no limit on contributions, unlike retirement accounts, which have a limit. They can be funded with retirement tax dollars or after-tax dollars. So you can put them with any monies you have, or you can move your 401k into them or your traditional IRA. The interest earned is tax deferred, and you pay taxes on any pre-tax annuity contributions and all tax deferred earnings as you withdraw them in retirement. And of course, as with other retirement plans, when you retire, you will likely be in a lower income tax bracket. What's the downside? Oh, the fees are outrageous. 1.5% is low. 3 or 4% is not unusual. This is on top of any mutual fund fees if it is in a variable annuity. But they offer great commissions for the life insurance products. On the website are some examples of what the life insurance agents are going to get. Oh boy. And I get into heated discussions, I think I've told you, where I say, I don't think these things are in the best interest of our clients. I mean, look at what this would do if they just put it in a retirement account or regular account on their own, and look at how it does in the annuity, and they get really angry and they say, but this is a guaranteed. I say, yeah, this is what they're saying to you, folks. This is what they're saying to you. Don't gamble. You may, and make your own investment choices. You may have mediocre returns. Instead, give us the money and we will guarantee you have mediocre returns. Basically, yeah. And once you've done that, once you've given the money to them, it's theirs. Now, it's depending which option you check. If you take the 10-year or 20-year guaranteed, they're going to pay that amount for 10 or 20 years, even if you pass away. So your heirs will get the rest of it. But if you outlive that amount, oh well, right? And if you take the life income option and you only live 1 or 2 years, well, they get to keep the rest. And of course, if you lived 100 years, well, you're not going to live 100 years, but whatever, they still have to pay you. And remember the Class B shares with the contingent deferred back-end charge that went, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. It went down over time. They have the same thing. They call them surrender charges. And they start at 25% and go down over 25 or 20 years. 20% go to, yeah. So I'm not a big fan of annuities. And there's another guy called Ken Fisher. And check out the article. You might hear him on his advertisements. He says he has a real gravelly voice. He hates annuities too. So, yeah, I would when I get into a discussion, I would say, well, look, okay, I'll show you my best investment choices, and you show me yours. And if yours are better than mine, I'll buy yours. And if mine are better than yours, you buy mine. They say, well, you're not comparing apples to apples. I said, that's right. That's right. If we had compared commissions, he would have won. One guy was about ready to punch me out. So I'm a coward. Cowards run in my family. And his buddies told him, no, back down, relax. Okay. So that's it. To review our choices, a regular account, taxes paid every year, no limit on contributions, no limit on the types of accounts, types of investments. Retirement accounts, tax qualified accounts come in 2 flavors. Pre-tax, pay taxes, tax break now, pay taxes in retirement, and post-tax or after tax, don't get a tax break now, but tax-free in retirement. And then annuities. Bleh. And on the website in Canvas is an example of actually a decent company called TIAA, Teachers Insurance Annuity Association, with a fixed annuity. And we're going to compare that to a balanced mutual fund in retirement and see how we compare, see how we do. Yeah. And remember, the one thing that really bugs me about annuities is you're giving the money to the insurance company. There's no option for generational wealth as there is with when you invest for the long term prudently. Yeah, that's a big thing, I think. So that's our discussion of brokerage firms, account types, and annuities. And then for our final chapter in BUS123, Introduction to Investments, we're going to talk about the ultimate investment, starting a business. You know, it's not for everyone, but for those people who want to do well, it's the best way to build wealth. Yeah, I think so. But it's also fraught with danger and a lot of hard work. See you in our last chapter on starting a business, the ultimate investment.